There we go. Good morning, crosswalkers. How's everyone doing? Good. Starting to warm up a little bit. Yesterday was a little much, but actually, we're not even there yet. My sister went kayaking at Lake Berryessa, and it was 97. Too much for me. Who am I that the Lord of all the earth would care to know my name, would care to feel my hurt? Who am I that the bright and morning star would choose to light the way for my ever-wandering heart? Not because of who I am, but because of what you've done. Not because of what I've done, but because of who you are. I am a flower quickly fading, here today and gone tomorrow. A wave tossed in the ocean, a vapor in the wind. Still you hear me when I'm calling. Lord, you catch me when I'm falling, and you've told me who I am. I am yours. Who am I that the eyes that see me fail would look on me with love, watch me rise again? Who am I that the voice that calms the sea would call out through the rain and calm the storm in me? Not because of who I am, but because of what you've done. Not because of what I've done, but because of who you are. I am a flower quickly fading, here today and gone tomorrow. A wave tossed in the ocean, a vapor in the wind. Still you hear me when I'm calling. Lord, you catch me when I'm falling, and you told me who I am. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours. I am yours.
Good morning. Good morning. I have something exciting I want to share with you today. We had a presentation made here at Crosswalk, and I can't show you the picture because it's people in recovery, so it's anonymity. So this presentation was made to Pastor Pete and I last week. Dear Pastor Pete, Dar, and the Crosswalk congregation, on behalf of the Napa Recovery Resource Center, we are honored to make a $20,000 donation. Exactly, $20,000 donation to Crosswalk Community in loving memory of Angela Angie Salva. She would not care if we were giving away her anonymity because it was her journey in life and she shared it with everyone. Angie was a spiritual giant in Napa's recovery community. In her 31 years of sobriety, she undoubtedly touched thousands of lives, and the ripple of her impact continues today as those that she helped pass the message on of the 12 steps on to others suffering from addiction. We miss her terribly, and yet we are comforted by the memory of her smile, her laugh, her fabulous style, her unmistakable New York accent, And we feel her spirit alive and well in us all. Just like Angie, Crosswalk Community Church provides a safe and welcoming place to thousands of people living with addiction and experience the divine miracle available to anyone who seeks it in the rooms of the 12-step meetings. We are making this donation to support your capital campaign or wherever the funds are needed most. We are eternally grateful to be welcomed into your space and hope this helps build a stronger foundation for years to come. Thank you for your service to people in recovery. Wasn't that awesome? Awesome, $20,000. And the main reason they were thinking of this, they were dissolving the Recovery Resource Center, and they realized that we were redoing the parking lot and also the flat roofs. And the flat roof is the hall coming in, the fireside room and conference room 1. They're 2 main meeting rooms. So that's why they thought it was really important that they would continue to support Crosswalk in all that we do and how we serve our community. I can tell you, I met Angie a long time ago when they were when they were at the on Coombsville. They had the Recovery Resource Center, and everybody would say, go up there if you're dying to get to a meeting, because it was right across from Tula K. But Angie and I worked together a lot to make sure that there were meetings available anytime, day, evening, afternoon, whenever there was a need. She was a very big advocate for the Spanish meetings as well, so she was constantly trying to get housing for Spanish meetings to be able to continue to meet. So she was quite an impact on a lot of people. We celebrated her life here. We packed the room that day. So very, very cool. Just want to welcome you to Crosswalk Community Church. If this is your first time choosing to be here, thank you for choosing to be here. I would encourage you to go back to the welcome table at the end of service, and they'll give you a gift bag that'll tell you a little bit more about our church and why we do things the way we do. And we also have several books back there. We would like you to choose one of those and let that be our gift to you. So hopefully you will take advantage of that and go check that out. Also want to remind you, on Tuesdays, we are doing Praxis. Next slide, Ted. Pastor Pete will be back Tuesdays, this Tuesday, for both services or both Praxis meetings. So I want to encourage you to come and be part of that. He is away. If you don't get the Crosswalk Connection, please sign up so you'll get the information of what we put out during the week. He has been taking a spiritual retreat of sorts, trying to get caught up on his reading. And if you know Pete, you know he goes through a lot of books, but he's had a stack building up, and he felt he needed this time to just get away and get through these books and be able to learn, so then he can help us learn, he can teach us better. So encouraged him to go on this trip. Everybody encouraged him. He was concerned about me having surgery and him being gone. I said, just go, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out, right? So, and we did. So thank you for that. So just wanting to encourage you guys to encourage him to continue to grow and help him in doing that so that he can help us to grow as well. Ann and Becky Jo, you want to come on up and share with us? I love how Ann runs up here. I wish I had that kind of energy.
Hello. All right, this is the last week I'll be bugging you about this file of life. This is getting your house in order. How many of you actually picked one of these up on the outside table? All right, how many of you actually filled it out and put it on your refrigerator? All right, not enough of you. Find it. It doesn't work if you don't fill it out. That's my last ask of you. And now Becky Jo was one of the speakers at our last series on the brain. I'm going to hand the mic to her so she can introduce what's coming up next in the arena of keeping Crosswalk healthy.
Hi, everybody. Hopefully you know me. I'm Becky Jo. I am a certified Zumba instructor and Zumba Gold instructor. I also teach line dancing, not just country line dancing, but other kinds too. And so what I'm going to do is incorporate some Zumba Gold, which means it's Zumba, but not as much bouncing. So it's more stepping than jumping, and incorporate some line dancing in with that, starting this Saturday in the gym at 10 o'clock on Saturday. And I'll be doing it throughout July to kind of just experiment and see if people come and if they like it. And I encourage you to come. It's not hard. It brings some water and probably a towel and some good supportive, comfortable shoes. And hopefully you can be there with us at 10. We'll play with the time and whatever we need to later. I asked several people at church about timing because I would like to do it at 9 and then have the rest of your day. And they said, I am not getting up to be anywhere at 9 on a Saturday morning. So hopefully 10 o'clock will be a good time for some people. And I really encourage you to come. It's just fun. Anne is great. She'll be in the front row. I already told her she's a front row person. And so she'll be helping guide us too. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. I'm excited to see all of you show up. Also want to remind you that we're having a guest speaker, Michael Gunger, next. There you go. Pete has invited him to come to Crosswalk and do a little bit of a presentation. If you're not aware of him, he's actually a Grammy-nominated musician who has toured the world. His extraordinary journey offers hope to those on the deconstruction, reconstruction road of faith. So trying to figure out, like, he was raised in a churchy church family and then things were messing with him. So he's taken this whole new journey. We're only going to do one service that day. So I want to encourage you all to be here. Pete's going to be like doing an interview with him. So it's going to be really, really a good service. But Pete actually reached out to him because he's kind of a famous guy. And he just like sent him a thing. Hey, would you ever think about coming to Napa Valley? And he's like, sure, give me a call. And Pete's like, what? So you just never know. But we're curious to hear his story. If you get a chance, look him up online. He's all over on YouTube channel. You can find lots of stuff on Google, lots of stuff about him. So want to encourage you to come and be here. And then also part of that service on that Sunday, we're also doing a luncheon right afterwards. Next slide. There you go. So Crosswalk is providing hamburgers and hot dogs. We're encouraging you to bring everything else to go with it, whether it's a vegetable tray or fruit tray or potato chips, whatever you want to bring, dessert, whatever you want to bring, it's up to you. We're going to do it at the end of service because I didn't think any of you would really want a hamburger or hot dog at 10 o'clock in the morning. So plan on coming, being part of the service that day, and then also staying for the luncheon afterwards. It's going to be a really, really great day. Also want to remind you on the back of your bulletin is about the Empty Soup Bowls event that's happening today right after service. So as soon as the service gets out, you're going to see this room get flipped really, really quick, and then they're going to set up for the empty bowls. And there's more on there. If you would like to do a QR code and get a ticket, you can. Otherwise, show up. They're going to have tickets available at the door. It's a really great opportunity for Crosswalk. We're going to be serving our community today. I have several Crosswalkers who are going to be here also as well to be of service and to just be part of it. So when you come in, they're going to be homemade pottery bowls. You're going to grab a bowl, the one that speaks to you. They're going to give you a cloth to wipe it out. And then Culinary Institute of America is providing all of the soup and the bread, and they'll have it set up out here in the courtyard where the tables are. So you'll take your bowl out there and get some of the soup, and they've paired the bread with the soup, because it is Napa Valley. So anyway, just want to encourage you to come and be part of that and look for a way that you can serve our community. All of the funds from this are going to Abode Services, which is our South shelter. So all of the funds raised from this event will be helping our homeless here in Napa, houseless. So be part of it if you want, support Crosswalk, and support also Abode Services. Thanks so much.
Angie was really something special. Anybody who knew her knows that. I could still hear her laugh in my head. All I got to do is think of her. She was the greatest. You and I must make a pact. We must bring salvation back. Where there is love, I'll be there. Feel free to sing. I'll reach out my hand to you. I'll have faith in all you do. Just call my name, I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. Just call my name and I'll be there. Let me fill your heart with joy and laughter. Togetherness, well, that's all I'm after. Whenever you need me, I'll be there. I'll be there to protect you with an unselfish love that respects you. Just call my name and I'll be there. I'll be there. Ooh, I'll be there. Just call my name and I'll be there. I'll be there. I'll be there. Whenever you need me. Whenever you need me. Whenever you need me, I'll be there. Little Michael J. Well, you all heard me sing long enough now. You know I'm really drawn to slow, love, mysterious songs. If you want me to do a fast one, that first one was my fast one. I've been thinking about dying and how that's gonna be. My skin and bones give up the ghost, and I finally feel my fragile soul, and all I am falling to mystery. I've been thinking about after, and all the folks I want to see. My neighbor says that this is it. My daughter says we'll live again. Most of the time I'm somewhere in between. Don't question, beg an answer. Don't a song, beg a dancer. Don't you dare tell me that there ain't more to this. There's more to this. I've been seeing this life different ever since you had to go. Fragile flowers in the field, 60 stories made of steel, birds above and business deals below. And I've been thinking about our lifetime like I never have before. 100 years or 100 days, 100 times no different, babe. I would always want 100 more. Don't question, beg an answer. Don't a song, beg a dancer. Don't you dare tell me that there ain't more to this. Don't our tears beg for laughter. Promise I'll love you forever. Don't you dare tell me that there ain't more to this. There's more to this. So don't you dare tell me that there ain't more to this. There's more to this. There you go.
Good morning. Oh, there's a few more people here than there were when I sat down. Awesome. I thought maybe you had heard from the people in the first service that it was really bad and you turned around and went home when you got here. Well, it is that time in our service when we pause for meditation. And I don't know about you, but there's a lot of things swirling around in my head and my heart. The last 2 weeks have not seen our world or our country grow any kinder or any gentler or any more compassionate. Instead, we've seen news stories about bunker busting bombs and slain congresspersons. And it's a lot. And so today I have brought a meditation from a book I have called A Rhythm of Prayer, a collection of meditations and prayers. And it was put together by the writer Sarah Bessey. You may have heard of her. But today's meditation was written by the Reverend Emily Swan. And it's called The Holy is Here, Present with Us. And what I hope for in this meditation is that we might have space to offer these things that are weighing heavy on our hearts, that are swimming in our minds, that are maybe causing anxiety or chaos, and that we might just be able to offer them to the Holy One who is present with us and who can carry them and who can permit us to set them aside that we might worship and fellowship and draw near to God. So however you get comfortable for meditation, I invite you to do that now. Ground your feet onto the floor and sit tall but not stiff. If you are comfortable with your eyes closed, I encourage that. Or if you prefer a soft gaze, do whatever works for you. I'll let you know ahead of time that Reverend Emily, who wrote this meditation, uses a lot of fluidity with her pronouns in reference to God. So don't be surprised as the pronouns switch from she to they and back again. And as we begin, breathe deeply. Take a long, full breath in through your nose. And exhale it out through your mouth. As we begin, we're going to use this mantra to settle our thoughts, to calm our hearts, and to just get us into a rhythm of breathing. So breathing in, the holy is here, and breathing out, present with me. The holy is here, present with me. The holy is here, present with me. I invite you to picture yourself sitting in a place, real or imaginary, that gives you joy. Notice your surroundings in this joy-filled place. What are you sitting on? Do you smell anything? What can you hear, see, feel, taste? While sitting in these beautiful places, we are going to meditate on Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 20, for a few rounds of breathing. We'll start by using the verse as a mantra in rhythm with our breath. Breathing in, the Lord is in her holy temple. And breathing out, let all the earth be silent before her. The Lord is in her holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before her. The Lord is in her holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before her. Having heard that verse a few times, can your mind's eye picture the earth as a temple of God? Give yourself time again to look at your surroundings. Imagine countless others around the world also being silent in the presence of this God. Feel their camaraderie, that they also, like you, like us, are following the spirit of love. Linger here and observe what happens, if anything. Give God space to speak, if they want. Now imagine this God as Jesus, or however you picture God, comes and sits nearby. Where are they in relation to you? How does it feel? In this space, with God sitting very near, pray whatever comes to mind. You can ask questions, make petitions, sit in awe, get angry. If you want, make space for God to converse with you, if they want to. Imagine that there's a low table in front of you in this space. and the table is filled with candles. Pick up a box of matches and light a candle for each burden weighing on your mind. Then ask God to turn their face towards the candle lights. God may have something to say about one or two of the candles. Or perhaps you just sit in silence, experiencing the attention of the presence. Finally now, in this last moment, feel God's love and enjoyment of you. If you can't feel that, perhaps ask God why. Invite the Spirit to continue filling and empowering you as you move ahead through this day in the coming week. As you're ready, you can open your eyes and return to this moment.
Have I told you lately that I love you? Have I told you there's no one else above you? Fill my heart with laughter, take away all my sadness. Ease my troubles, that's what you do. For the morning sun in all its glory greets the day with hope and comfort too. You fill my life with laughter and somehow make it better. Ease my troubles, that's what you do. There's a love that's divine, and it's yours and it's mine. Like the sun, and at the end of the day, we should give thanks and pray to the one, to the one. Ooh. There's a love that's divine, and it's yours and it's mine. Like the sun, and at the end of the day, we should give thanks and praise to the one, to the one. And have I told you lately that I love you? Have I told you there's no one else above you? You fill my heart with gladness, take away all my sadness. Ease my troubles, that's what you do. Take away all my sadness, fill my heart with gladness. Ease my troubles, that's what they do.
Thank you, Brian.
That's my drop.
I haven't even said anything yet. Too funny.
Go amongst yourself.
Good morning again. Think we could give that another go? Good morning again. Oh, that's so much better. Now it'll sound like on the video that there are people in the room. So that's always good. This morning, we continue our year-long exploration of the Sermon on the Mount, and I think we can officially mark ourselves halfway through, right? Woo! It's the last Sunday in June, so we've made it halfway through the year. I wanted to thank publicly Matt Real for the message last week, and he was in first service today. It was good to see him. As Chaplain Matt mentioned last week in his teaching, chapter 6 in the book of Matthew marks a shift in the Sermon on the Mount. And if you're following along at home, reading Following the Call, I don't know how many of you are, but if you're following along in that, the book also shifts at this point and does a weird thing, which I'll mention in a minute. So what we're going to notice this morning is those really lovely, blessed statements that we took, I don't know, a few months to go through and we left behind a few weeks ago. Those are gone. And today's text starts with another B word that does not fall near as easily on the ear. It starts with beware. So that gives us a little hint about the teaching at the beginning of Matthew 6. For some reason, also, Following the Call, the book that we are reading this year, does not address the early verses of chapter 6 in chronological order. I don't know if you noticed that last week with Chaplain Matt's teaching, but his text included verse 1 of chapter 6, and then it skipped down to like verses 5 and 6 or some such thing. And today, I have verse 1 through 4, and that's the order that it was in the book. That's the out of order that it was in the book, actually, truth be told. So that's a little bit of background for what we're doing today. And I will also tell you that I've chosen this morning to read from a scholarly translation of the Bible, the NRSV UE. That's the new Revised Standard version, updated edition. And I don't often use that translation in a Sunday morning teaching. But when I looked at the more contemporary translations, like the Message and others, I'll be honest, they do not kind of read the same way. And because I chose this translation, you'll notice that our scripture text will not fall softly on our ears, that like the more contemporary language that soften, if you will, some of the biblical language. We are not going for soft today. It's actually kind of a hard topic, but we'll do it, and there are some good things for us at the end, I believe. So here is Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 to 4. Beware of practicing your righteousness before others in order to be seen by them, for then you have no reward from your Father in heaven. So whenever you give alms, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, so that they may be praised by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you give alms, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your alms may be done in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Now, this text has financial implications. It's about giving. And one thing that I have found almost any time you teach about what the Bible has to say about financial matters of any kind, including giving, we all discover that we've got some issues. I'm actually this summer teaching a seminary class called What's Money Got to Do with It? A spiritual, biblical, and theological exploration of money and possessions. And we discovered in class that we all do have some personal issues. In fact, we have these life sentences, if you will, associated with earning, spending, saving, and giving money. These are sentences or phrases, colloquialisms, or even Bible verses that we heard growing up, either from our families, at church maybe, in the culture. We heard all of these messages about money, and we could just like spout them off just like that. So I'm going to ask you, and it's kind of hard to hear in here, there's a fan going, but what are some of the life sentences you have about money? They can be spiritual or not. They don't have to be about the Bible. Some phrase about money. I can't hear. Okay, maybe you were taught to tithe in church. Okay, what else? Save for a rainy day. A penny saved is a penny earned. What was back there? Money doesn't grow on trees. These are good. Some of them the first service didn't come up with. What else? Give and it will be given to you. It's better to give than receive, okay? Time is money, right? Some more contemporary financial teachers, I won't mention any of them by name. I always tell my classes that I have problems with most of them, so I won't give them the credit. But a lot of contemporary kind of financial gurus say things like, pay yourself first. Have you heard that? Okay, everybody's heard that. Here's a big one. I think it was a big one for me. So I want to know who was taught that you never talk about how much money you earn, how much money you give. You don't talk about how much you paid for your house, that all of those things are private. Who was taught that? Lots of hands. I don't know if you noticed, but many of our life sentences are rooted in a very American and deeply capitalistic culture. We can't get away from it. We have been swimming in American capitalism and bootstrap theology our entire lives. But we all know, right, that Jesus did not speak the Sermon on the Mount to a group of capitalistic Americans, right? Jesus was speaking the Sermon on the Mount in first century Palestine to an audience of followers that were peasants, very poor. We're talking about a very sort of agrarian economy for the primary audience of like his people, right? We also know there would have been probably religious leaders on the fringe of the audience. He may have been speaking within earshot of representatives of the empire, if you will, Romans. But we know for sure that Jesus does not have this American capitalistic perspective that we all have. And that's probably part of the reason why this scripture, this text, does not sound very pleasant to our ears. And Jesus' teaching about it is a hard teaching today. I'll be honest about that. But I also am very hopeful for us addressing the topic, even though it's hard. So let's look at the text a little bit. The first thing that we should have noticed, and let's do a little defining. In the text, since I read from the NRSV today, it said, when you give alms, okay? Almsgiving was giving for the needy, okay? So when you saw or heard the word alms in that text, Jesus is talking about giving for the needy, okay? And in the text, you'll notice that giving is assumed. Jesus says, when you give. He doesn't say if, he says when. So giving, especially in the context of for those who have need, is assumed for those who were faithful, practicing Jews in his day. All right? And even more than that, almsgiving specifically is the most sacred religious duty for Jewish people. Last week, Chaplain Matt talked about the next verses that come after this, and he talked about prayer and fasting. So almsgiving, which we have today, is the number one of those big three Jewish religious practices or religious duties. So almsgiving, prayer, and fasting. Those are the big three. But almsgiving is at the top. So giving, especially for meeting the needs of those who do not have, the most sacred religious duty. In fact, if you do a word study of the Hebrew tzedakah, the word for almsgiving can also be used to mean righteousness. So to give to the needy, if you look at the language study, is equivalent to righteousness. Okay? Very, very important. It's a big deal, this teaching of Jesus today. The other thing about the text that I want to point out is that Jesus is using hyperbole here. That is, that phrase about the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing is extreme exaggeration, right? Not meant to be taken literally, but rather to emphasize a point, to evoke some kind of strong feeling or create a strong impression. We remember that when we read this text, that of all the things, probably that's what stands out to us because it's ridiculous, right? It's impossible for the left hand not to know what the right hand is doing. And yet, If we go back to those life sentences that we talked about a couple of moments ago, many of us were taught both implicitly and explicitly that money matters, including giving matters, should be secret or private. And I have bad news for us this morning. Jesus was not calling for privacy in this text. It's not what it's about. Instead, Jesus is calling out hypocrisy. And I think Chaplain Matt touched on this last week a little bit, but the word hypocrite, from which we get hypocrisy, comes from the Greek word for a stage actor. So someone who puts on a mask and goes on a stage and pretends to be a character, right? Someone who they're not. We all are familiar with this concept. We understand what that means. It's also where we get the expression two-faced. We know this expression, right? A hypocrite is a person that has two faces, if you will. Now, in the text, if we look right before these verses, it does lead us to believe that Jesus is in particular addressing the religious leaders with this warning, this beware, and then these admonitions about how they should do their giving and how they should not. He also could have been referring to the Roman patronage system at the time, which often included very public displays of wealth giving in public. So we have the religious leaders who maybe were making a very big deal about their offerings, making sure that all their coins clanked loudly in the offering box in the temple, or also these wealthy Romans that gave patronage. Either way, there are still lessons in there for us. What I put before you today is that hypocrisy is actually a very common, very human struggle, and that we all wrestle with it, even if we don't call it hypocrisy. And I'll unpack that a little bit in a moment. We all like to be admired. We like to be recognized. We like to be affirmed. We like to be told, good job. It's part of our nature. And yet, sometimes, maybe often, we struggle to live up to our own values, our own highest hopes for ourselves, and who we know we've been created to be. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That struggle between the values we hold, the things we say we believe, that which we cling to and say is important. These are hills we would die on, and the struggles that we all have to live up to those things that we say we value and we believe and are important. If you are reading along in the Following the Call book, you know that each week with the text are some essays by some famous, some not so famous writers. One of the essays this week was from Leo Tolstoy. And this quote was written, of course, over 100 years ago, but I want you to hear it, and then I just want us to think about for a minute how it may or may not still ring true. Tolstoy said, "We cannot persuade ourselves and others that we do not know that people do not like dying of hunger, that they do not like working underground in the water or in stifling heat 10 to 14 hours a day or night in factories. One would imagine it impossible to deny what is so obvious. Yet it is denied. Tolstoy is talking about the fooling ourselves kind of hypocrisy, which we may or may not actually have defined as hypocrisy prior to today. He's talking about how we deny reality that's right in front of our face in response to cognitive dissonance that we experience in here. This quote could have been written today if I hadn't told you that it was a Tolstoy. And I wonder, what are some of the things that we, like Tolstoy says here, deny in our everyday lives? What are the things we have to do mental gymnastics around to make them okay? You can shout things out. Somebody in the first service said, starvation in Gaza, child labor, sweatshops that make cheap clothing and shoes. If you have them, shout them out. We carry supercomputers in our pockets, and there's probably questionable sourcing of the materials and the labor used to make those. What else? Louder and slavery, human slavery, continues to this day. Yes, child labor, sex trafficking, starvation anywhere, right? Just war. This is not, I don't bring these to us. We don't read this today so that we all feel really, really bad and then go home feeling really bad. It's more a matter of just telling the truth. It's hard to get through the day, I think, in the United States of America without having to do some type of gymnastics in our head and heart, knowing what we know about the world around us, right? It's hard. It weighs on us. It weighs on us. Mother Teresa was another one of the writers this week in our book, and I pulled this quote out of her little essay, and the hypocrisy that she references is a different kind. There are similarities, but it is a different kind. She says, I don't like people to send me something because they want to get rid of it. Giving is something different. It is sharing. This one hit me really hard too, because I don't know how many times I've moved and knowing that the mover's charged by the pound and that I don't need everything I have, I donate boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. But Mother Teresa says, when I do that, I'm not giving, I'm just getting rid of my stuff. And that's hard to hear, right? Just like donating our closet full of, 90s fashion. Or maybe for some of you, 70s fashion. Getting rid of those white belts and those white shoes and those leisure suits to make way for the 2025 edition is, according to Mother Teresa's very kind of direct statement here, is not giving. It's just cleaning out our closets. This kind of hypocrisy is another kind of fooling ourselves, if you will, but it gets at the motives for our giving, right? Why do we give? And is it for us, or is there another reason. Both of these quotes and Jesus' words today are hard. They do not fall softly on the ear. They do not leave us with warm and fuzzy feelings. So as I began to think about this struggle, and I do really believe that this is a human struggle, that we all wrestle with this kind of, aspirational, thoughts versus our actual behavior. So what happens to us when our inner values and motives do not match our outward actions? That's something for us to think about. The word hypocrisy probably makes most of us uncomfortable. It's much easier. I could think of tons of examples of hypocrisy this morning as I was thinking about other people, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that there was a representative of the American Empire last Sunday on social media posted something about bombing another country, and in the next sentence said, "We love you, God." And it's really easy to say, what a hypocrite. It's really easy to read those news stories of acclaimed religious leaders or megachurch pastors who have misappropriated funds or use donations to buy private airplanes. And it's really easy to say, what a hypocrite. But I think, if we're honest, I think we all flirt with hypocrisy. I think we all flirt with hypocrisy. We don't always act in accordance with our values, our highest hopes for ourselves in the world. And more often than not, and I think this is where things really get to be problematic, and that is we do not talk about these struggles that we have. We keep them a secret. And we pretend that we do act in accordance with our values. But that takes a toll on us eventually. We desperately want other people to look at us and see the values that we profess. Generosity, faithfulness, compassion, love. But we may struggle with those internally. Not in a general sense. Of course we want all of those things. But in specific, very particular circumstances, we may experience a struggle with those things we profess. I was reminded this week as I was studying of the Apostle Paul's writing when he said, the good he desires to do, he doesn't do. Instead, that which he desires not to do, that's what he ends up doing. And I thought, ooh, if that does not sound like this struggle against what we say we believe and how we actually behave, I don't know what does. I also discovered this week that this internal tug of war, if you will, is not good for us. It's not good for us spiritually. It's not good for us emotionally. It's not good for us relationally, mentally, physically, materially. In fact, there's actually a psychology of hypocrisy, which I find really fascinating. And I've seen play out with people that I've worked with before. The psychology of hypocrisy says hypocrisy has real world consequences for both individuals and their relationships. Engaging in hypocritical behavior, or this mismatch, if you will, can take a toll on mental health and well-being. The cognitive dissonance created by acting against one's stated beliefs can lead to feelings of guilt, shame, and anxiety. That's why we don't talk about those struggles that we have. And when we don't talk about them, if they're already producing these feelings, guess what grows those feelings? When we don't talk about shame, shame gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And believe it or not, money is one of the big areas where people of faith, including leaders in faith communities, experience these things. As I have taught pastors about teaching about money, and as I have worked with seminary students to help them formulate a solid theology of money, what I have heard over and over again is that people have shame about how they manage their money. Often the way they manage their money, whether it's giving or spending or saving or earning, it doesn't live up to what, their spiritual values are. And then they feel bad. And there's nobody to talk to about that. Nobody comes in on Sunday morning and says, I charged too much on my credit card last month, so I can't make an offering. Nobody talks about these things. But we all struggle in some way or another with that kind of struggle, if you will. So it's good for us to hear and talk about topics like this, even if they're hard. In teaching about money and values, I always use this book. My class this summer is reading it and wrote a paper on it. And the book is called The Soul of Money, Transforming Your Relationship with Money and Life by Lynn Twist. And the quote I'm going to share with you was so meaningful to me when I first read it that I just share it as much as I can. And I think it relates very well to the teaching today. Lynn Twist says, each of us experiences a lifelong tug of war between our money interests and the calling of our soul. When we're in the domain of soul, we act with integrity. We are thoughtful and generous, allowing, courageous, and committed. When we enter the domain of money, there often seems to be a disconnect from the soulful person we have known ourselves to be. We sometimes feel driven to behave in ways that are inconsistent with our core values and unable to act differently. This dichotomy keeps us from integrating our inner and outer worlds to experience wholeness in our lives. I just find that really powerful. I also have found since coming to Crosswalk that this quote hits me differently than it ever did before. That last phrase, this dichotomy keeps us from integrating our inner and outer worlds to experience wholeness in our lives. What is she talking about? Shalom. Very good. Thank you, Carrie. Yes, for the first time, that hit me this year in rereading this. That's what she's talking about. And I wonder also if that's what Jesus is getting at. We hear him call out the hypocrisy, and it sounds harsh, and it hurts our ears. But I wonder if that's what he's really saying, is that if we could integrate our values, our professed beliefs, our religious commitments, if we could integrate those with our practice, how we manage our giving, how we pray, how we fast, to expand into the other verses at the beginning of this chapter, then we will know shalom. He says those who don't do that work, they have their reward now. They've got all the reward they're ever going to get. Praise from, fellow human beings. But if we do that work, of integration, if we do that aligning work, then our reward is much bigger, much deeper, much richer. It is shalom. And so I think there's some hope here in this harsh text and teaching. And I'm going to give us a couple of minutes here shortly to think about it. But this is something I really believe, having gone back to this week and thinking about it through this framework. We know that God desires for each of us to have this type of wholeness. In this text, Jesus is calling us again toward shalom, inviting us to integrate our inner and outer lives, or our spiritual and our material lives, if you will. As we move now towards closing, we're gonna take a pause for some reflective time, and the woman who wrote the meditation that I used today also wrote a prayer to accompany it. And in a couple of moments, I'm going to read that kind of in the silence for us. But before I read that, I invite you to begin to reflect on these two questions. Where in your life are you struggling to integrate your values and beliefs with your actions? And how can you pray and ask the Spirit to work with you toward shalom, for shalom, with shalom? And as you reflect on those questions, I invite you to just rest in the presence of God and listen for the Spirit's voice while I offer Reverend Emily Swan's prayer for the church. And after I have offered her prayer, I'll change the slide and I'm going to invite you to join me in a version of the Lord's Prayer as we dismiss for the morning. Let's be silent for just a moment and then pray together. Spirit of Jesus, come with fire that refines, water that refreshes, wind that topples, breath that fills. Kindle a global revival of empathy, justice, and active peacemaking. Birth a witness of love that is bigger and better than we inherited. Liberate us from privilege and oppression. Unshackle the gospel from nationalism, colonialism, white supremacy, and every other lens that shrouds the good news. Give us an abundance of grace for others and ourselves. Grant us compassion for those who suffer. Free us from the influence of money, power, and acclaim. Restore our reputation for caring for the poor, loving our neighbors, being ambassadors of peace and stewards of the earth. Unlock the immense resources hoarded in the Western Church and release them for your name's sake. Encourage us so we do not grow cynical, isolated, and burned out. Fan our hopes, our joys, and our connections. Allow us rest when we need rest. Enable us to see you in each person we encounter. Show us mercy in our humanity. Let us love more fully than we thought possible. Let us not be quick on the draw, ready to retaliate, escalate, assassinate. Let our collective fervor for justice eclipse institutional concerns. Let us trust and follow the wisdom of those who have been marginalized. Let us persevere in creating safe spaces of worship to eat bread and drink wine together. Let us stand for love and with love, following the way of your Son as best we're able. Let us not fear an experiential spirituality. Let us listen to the wondrous bodies you gave us. Let us hear your voice and tangibly feel you with us. Let us discern your guidance. Let us abide in and with you. Show us what you're doing so we can work together. Move where you will, when you will, in whatever way you will. Come, Holy Spirit, and restore us, your church. Will you join me now in the Lord's Prayer? Eternal Spirit, Father and Mother of us all, holy is your name. Let justice and mercy fill all creation, and let us recognize that every thought and thing belongs to you. Feed us with the bread we need for today. Forgive our sin as we forgive those who sin against us. Stand with us in trial and temptation. Free us from the grip of all that is evil, for you alone are creating our universe, now and forever. Amen. Thanks for being here. Have a great week.